Hello everyone and welcome to the Great British Grand Prix, a sprint race event here for LSI. We've got Pursoon currently on track right now, returning once again to LSI as a reserve. It's Pursoon and Nifayan currently competing for that pole position, but Frantic's in the mix now. It's a triple Dutch lineup right now, but the championship leader P4 Sulkin in P4 looking to do something serious as well. Halfway through the lap, through Maggots and Beckett's, they will go left and right and left again, out through Chapel, trying not to spin it all away on the exit. Nicely done from Pursoon, but Frantic is definitely there on the limit, looking very, very competitive. Down the straight, and Pursoon's not got much battery left. I think they might have just overcooked it on the battery. They may be lucky. Does somebody else have anything left in the rest of the lap? Frantic's quick. Who gets the best exit out of the chicane? It's hesitant on the throttle, but it's enough. Pursoon will take pole position for the sprint race by a small margin as Frantic just gets there. Then it's Sulkin in P3. Lovely stuff. Very, very close here for pole position in the sprint race to start off the evening. It's Sulkin, of course, in P3. Then we've got Nifo and Jericho Willis finishing the top 5. We got disqualification from Verf in the end and no lap from Charlie. That's the race director. We'll be back in a bit for the sprint race. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn while we're away? It's Pursoon on the outside line. It's Frantic who gets there, but oh, Sulkin's blocked off the line. It's now Frantic into P1 with a brilliant start and the inside line. Can they steal it away? I think they can. It's Sulkin who's going to try and come through as well to get around the outside of Pursoon. I don't think Pursoon can do anything about it. There's a brief yellow as Zingy goes down the order with no setup, by the way. They've made a mistake there in the qualifying session. It's Sulkin who's looking to try and take it to P1 already. Pursoon regains the lead a few corners later. We've got Jericho Willis directly behind. Oh, Nifo, as they almost went into the back of them, but luckily they keep it all together. Zingy just outside of this pack at the moment, unfortunately, and it's not going to look great. It's a mix of hards and medium tyres, which is brilliant to see. We're going to have a good race through the entirety of this one, all the way to lap 9. Unfortunately, PJ has had an issue. They will have to join us later on. Hopefully their technical difficulties will not continue throughout the rest of the evening. Pursoon leads the way, Frantic in P2. Then it's mediums for Sulkin, who needs to get to P1 as soon as they possibly can. We've got the Mercedes of Edvir looking to the inside, down the straight. There's contact, and that's Edvir and Tom down the order. What happened there? I'm not entirely sure. Zingy goes through and might even look at some points. That's Nifo making making a mistake on the midpoint of the chicane, allowing Jericho Willis to go through. Was there contact with Nifo, with Sulkin? I'm not entirely sure, but that's now 9/10 that Jericho Willis has. They're just, or maybe missing out on DRS. They might have got there. If they have missed it, then that's a big problem and a massive struggle that they're now having to try and figure out. They've got to hope that Pursuit and Frantic fight, but I know that that's not going to be the case. There it is. No DRS for Jericho Willis. Nifo sits directly behind and they can't do much about it. And Frantic and Pursuit will not exactly fight each other too hard. We know that they're good friends, teammates from back in the day and champions in F1.5 as well. Gilly sitting in P6 just behind Nifo. Jericho Willis pushing to do what they can to get back that DRS, and they've done a very good job in doing so. It's still on the limit, but they've got there and they will be able to bring this race back together. The biggest gap that you've got now is between Edveer and the rest of the field, 2.3 seconds, which isn't that big of a gap considering that there was a car spun around a few moments ago, and they're actually fighting for position. We've got Edveer and Zingy switching position. Zingy's P10, 2 positions away from getting in to the points. Frantic, Jericho Willis trade fastest laps. Are we going to see? Well, we're definitely going to see some more fast laps throughout the rest of this race as the tyres balance out with the fuel. You get a lighter car, you get a faster lap, you get a more and more tyre, you get a slower lap. There is going to be a balance point. Got Yellowek and Verf, the 2 Sauber cars. They're on those medium tyres. They're looking to try and do something, but in a big DRS train like Silverstone, it's not easy to do anything at all. Almost impossible in some circumstances. Pursuit is in a very strong position controlling this pace. But we know that Frantic has definitely stepped their game up in the last season and a half or so. And they're going to be very competitive. Two Saubers dropping back. Thus got to overtake his teammate, otherwise they're going to lose out even more than they really need to. Gilly also very close to dropping at a DRS range. And Verf is going to get there to the inside. They eventually manage to find their way through on Yellowek, but they are still a long way away from the rest of the field. 1.8 seconds, losing almost an entire second down that straight is absolutely immense. Bringing it back, Verf will be able to do in a few corners, but I don't think they'll be able to get there by the time we get that DRS ring open once again, and that's just the nature of Silverstone. It's how it goes. There's Jericho Willis. He's been in these kind of battles before. You can see the mind games that will be going up in front. That's Charlie and Gilly switching positions. It looked like a nice move gained by Charlie, but maybe a little bit of an urgent one, looking at the gap in front. And we all of a sudden saw the switch on the screen, but Charlie was very far in front of Gilly, so I feel like maybe that wasn't too hard fought. Unfortunately, I won't know until I see a replay, if I see a replay. But Charlie is through. That's what we do know. That's what we can see. And the 2 Saubers brought back into this race. Well, Yellowek's got a little bit more to do to get that DRS range. And these pack of cars just ran away from Zingy, Edveer and Tom, who either after their issues or technical difficulties have had to suffer and can't do much about this one. Pursuit, 6/10 in front, hasn't seen the lead drop away since the first few corners. And they've got to try and manage their race. It's not going to be easy, especially coming along to racing once again for the first time in a while. For sure they can have the outright pace, but do they have the strategy and the knowledge to give them the overall advantage? This is where a sprint race will help out their performance. They'll be able to show the raw pace, but when it gets to a Grand Prix later, they might show some cracks. Although we have seen the season 9 F1.5 champion do some pretty good things in the past. It might have been season 7. I can't quite remember now. But he's definitely got that title. So is this man. So is this man as well. I think. Hang on a minute. I don't think I got that right. I don't think that's right at all. I think we've also got some changes further down the field. We've got Gilly dropping back and Verf also in the mix. Is there damage on Verf's car? Have they had a coming together with Gilly? I don't know, but somehow all of a sudden that pace has been dropped and Charlie is a little way up the road. Verf hasn't been able to do anything about it, and that's become a bigger problem than it needed to be. And as Yellow X lost DRS, it's bringing Zingy back into play with this one. And we've got the battle for the top 6 here. Sorry, do excuse me. Sulkin is the championship leader, not an F1.5 champion. A race winner though in both tiers. Race winner, race winner, race winner, race winner, race winner, future race winner, serial race winner, a future race winner and a race winner in LSI over the different tiers. They've all had their own successes. The success to see from Frantic and Pursoon is that now on lap 7 out of 9 the tyres are switching and those mediums can't hold on for any longer. This is going to be a headache for Jericho Willis, for Niffo and for Charlie, because now they've got to try and find a way through Sulkin, who is not going to want to let this happen. And you know what? It's not like it's going to be a strategy game and they'll get back into this one. Sulkin has every right and every reason to fight these positions to the death now. They've lost that DRS. They've also made a mistake. Jericho Willis has got a free opportunity to make that move now. It's going to be now or never. Surely they've got to give it a shot. They've used the battery, but Sulkin has defended very well with the deployment. And that is a lot of power now being exploited by Jericho Willis that they won't be able to get back. Has that ruined their chances? Niffo would have tried to follow along maybe, but Sulkin was still a little bit too powerful. And Sulkin has got to go aggressive. It's not going to be fun for those behind. Frantic and Pursoon will get a free breakaway. Unfortunately there for Niffo, they've got a 3-second time penalty. That's going to drop them behind Charlie in these last stages. Absolutely brutal to get a penalty. Currently Pursoon looks like they might be trying to push the limits a little bit further. Can Frantic hold on? It doesn't matter because Sulkin is not going to be there, and as long as there's not a major mistake from Frantic, then they're not going to need to worry about any trouble behind, especially with the battle that is about to commence directly behind them as well. If they're looking very close to the back of Jericho Willis for a few corners there, they want to put the pressure on, make some mistakes, see if they can get anything more out of this race. That is the only call that they can make. We've got Zingy 3.6 seconds away. He's got 7/10, so he's dropped behind Yellowek as they battle it out. But we want to see this battle here. Is Sulkin going to be able to hold on another lap? Jericho Willis a bit closer this time. It's a better run as well. It's the outside line though. That's surely not going to work, and they do wait another lap. Zingy is going to have to try and find a way through on Yellowek here, but no, well, they're using the battery, but no setup is not helping them at all. It's side by side into the final chicane between the Sauber and the Ferrari. It's Verth and Gilly, and they do eventually sort themselves out, but just about. There was almost a switchback. A brilliant battle that they've got going on here, and they will continue this throughout the lap. P1 and P2 are split up. Pursoon has put the pressure on, and it's worked. Oh, that's Jericho Willis making contact at the back of Sulkin, and that was a big problem. Sulkin's not going to be happy at all. They go defensive to the middle of the circuit. Jericho Willis looks to go to the outside. They tried to keep the car central in the middle of the circuit to prevent Sulkin from going further back, but no, Sulkin has parked their car in the middle of the racetrack and held on incredibly well. It's invited Charlie into the battle, and they're already going to make the move here on Nifo. They do back out before Copse Corner. That was not worth it at all. Absolutely brilliant, all the way to the limit. It's still a switch up between these two. Verth goes ahead. Is that a call from Gilly? No, I think he's just understeered. But one more time, these guys will come through the back straight. Sulkin tries to hold on with all their might. Jericho Willis is now going to give their final attack. They've got the battery. Can they send it? They don't have the bravery to go for it in the end. Sulkin has done just enough to make it perfectly to the way home. Absolutely incredible. But it's Pursoon who will win on return for the sprint race in Silverstone. It's Frantic in P2. It's Sulkin. Then we've got Jericho Willis, Nifo, who drops behind Charlie to P5. Then it's Nifo. Then it's Verth, who does beat Gilly in the end. Gilly having that understeer moment at Copse Corner is what made it happen. And Zengi so close to getting points in the end. But they did just manage to get it ahead of Yellowek in the end. There's Tom and Ed further behind. A lovely sprint race to bring us into the event here this weekend, and it is Pursoon on top. Frantic in P2, Sulkin, Jericho Willis, Charlie, Nifo, Verth, Gilly, Zingy, Yellowek, Edvir, Tom, and PJ disconnecting earlier on due to technical difficulties, and hopefully we can get them in a little bit later on for the race. We'll see you in about 10 minutes for qualifying. Hello everyone and welcome back to LSI. Welcome to the qualifying session for the main race here in Silverstone. We've got a cheeky bit of a tow going on from Pursoon there as they try and gain everything they can for their lap. They had pole position and the race win in the sprint side of this event. Now we've got a little bit more of a in-depth session and lots of switching has been done. It's Pursoon round the final corner and they go to P5 by a 10th improvement ahead of Frantic, just ahead of Frantic. And just behind Jericho Willis, it's Niffo to P3 and fairly comfortably. And then we've got closely followed, or they closely follow Zingy, but Sulkin, they've got 2 tenths on the rest of the field. They are looking quite confident at the moment. With 4 minutes to go, there is one more opportunity where track evolution will kick in. Now, the good thing is that when we get a sprint race event, we know about the weather. We know about the weather like it's the back of our hand. It's going to be full wet to begin with. It's going to then be intermediate and then dry. We might not see the dry part of the race. It might be wet the entire way through, but it's going to be a tricky call. It's approximate weather conditions, so we never know what's going to happen. But we do know the basic idea of what the weather will bring. It's going to be a strategic masterclass race. They've got to get it right. They can lose a lot if they don't. It's not over until it's over, and overtakes don't necessarily have to be made on track. We've got Jericho Willis in P4 and an out lap getting ready to go again. Gilly is currently out on track. They're going for their lap, and we'll watch on board with the winter champion from the first winter season, the second only ever to win a championship in a single night from start to finish. That's Tia Honey, the other one for the F1 2010 championship we ran back in, I think, F1 2019. In 2021, Gilly won the winter season championship, which I did compete in myself in both of them. Unfortunately, I was no match for this man. He comes into the final few corners in the Ferrari car that they're famous for driving. Although they're not permanent right now, they do still look good in it. And they go across the line, 2.5 tenth improvement, P9, and they have just a small margin to try and get yellow X, but I'm not entirely sure if they'll be able to do it. There's the time that we've got left on the clock. We've got Sulkin, who is out on track right now, getting ready to go for one final time. It's Verf, though, who will get their final lap in very shortly. They're not going to get another lap in. 2 minutes on the clock. There's no chance. You might be able to back out on your current lap and then go again, but it's just not going to happen. Surely not. Verf begins. The final corner and across the line, ERS are being used as they go down the start-finish straight. And then staying in 8th gear, they shift down to 7th to keep the revs up, pull it to the left-hand side to minimise track distance, braking as hard as they can, not on the curb, getting to the inside, quite difficult to do so, especially with the fronts trying to lock up at every opportunity, open up that steering wheel, keep it nice and wide to get that traction down. DRS once again, they're keeping it to the right-hand side. A few games ago you'd have to move to the left to avoid the bumps, but this is not so severe in the F1 25 game. You bleed through the next few corners with smooth wheel motion, allowing for a better traction, and now using some more battery. Still a lot available here for Verf, but they're saving it for the next part. As they go through Cox Corner on the exit, maybe a bit of a blast of battery, but then we go through Maggots and Beckett's. This is where on the exit we will use all that battery just after Chapel. You don't want to lose the rear end here, and they manage to keep it in quite nicely. Very easy to oversteer off onto the curb, but they keep it tidy. And then we've got Stowe Corner coming up. They've got a bit of traffic that they can't afford to get distracted by in these final moments, and they will stay out in front, so there's not going to be any impeding the final chicane, flicking that wheel to get the grip in, waiting for it to grip up perfectly, and on the throttle, darting to the line, using whatever left of the battery, and that's a P2, a 25.823, margins in front of Zingy, who'll try and take that away immediately if they can. We've got Nifo, who starts their final lap at the last possible second. Then we've got the Red Bull of Sulkin, who will finish their lap and finish qualifying as the first driver to do so. Well, if he does effectively taken that flag instead, Sulkin all the way up to the line, and they actually go into the pit lane. They've backed out of that one. They're not going to bother trying to set the lap. It's going to be Jericho Willis who will try and give it a go. There's a 25.6 to beat. Can they get the extra tenths that they need to? It's going to be about 5 tenths to try and compete. It's across the line. They've run out of fuel. I don't believe it. Jericho Willis on cue to improve, and they ran out of fuel at the last second. We get Charlie to P4. Absolutely perfect there for Charlie. Zingy crosses the line. They will not be able to get there on Sulkin in the end. A 0.639. Very, very close. Just not close enough. It's Yellowek who will cross the line. They're P9 at the moment. Where can they go in the grid of LSI F1 drivers across the line? And they improve. Well, they don't improve. They just miss out in the end. It's going to be Pursued. P7, the man who won the sprint race, goes a bit quicker, and they jump ahead of Jericho Willis, who just unfortunately missed out there because of that fuel issue. It's going to be Nifo, the final car across the line after the Sauber of Verf. It's going to be a very, very tricky front end on that Racing Bull. They improved to third in the last second. Absolutely brilliant stuff there for Nifo. They start on the second row of the grid, directly behind the main event for P1. It's Sulkin in P1, it's Zingy in P2, and Nifo in P3. The race director is on your screen now, and then there is the rest of the race director. We've got Zingy and Nifo once again in the top three, probably most common in LSI history. We'll see what Sulkin can do with the duo. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? We're away. It's Sulkin on the outside in clean air, and they've got it perfectly. There's a car in the background, a Ferrari. Can Nifo swoop around the outside? No, they go off the circuit. Charlie comes through and promotes themselves a few positions up. Absolutely brilliant stuff there. We've got Verf sat behind with that is in some incredible angle from Nifo as they drifted through the corner. That's the three wide moment that almost went horribly, horribly wrong. It's going to be frantic ahead of Pursuit just about once more. Lots of sideways motion, and that was Pursuit almost ending their race. Surely they keep it together. It's a big train further behind us. The Aston Martin going off the circuit. It's PJ also. We've got Jericho Willis following Verf just up in front. It's all a little bit tricky. That's Edfear, unfortunately, with damage in the early stages. There's also more contact as they try. Oh, that's not going to work. They've got to not turn in, otherwise they're going to demon drag all the way to the outside. There's a big off from Yellowek in the background as well. There's an even bigger off as Zingy has completely missed the circuit. Charlie's ahead. Frantic goes through on Nifo, as Frantic is absolutely flying right now. Could we see a difference in wing? We don't know what everybody's done. Dry conditions in qualifying. This might change now. We get the full wet conditions and it's going to dry up later on. So it could get even more complicated pace-wise, and the lap times can change pretty drastically. The tyre situation is as follows. Charlie is on the wets and Edvir on the wets. Everybody else on the intermediates, as I would expect. Is Charlie going to have the advantage here? Well, it looks like right now they do, as you can see, and they've managed to make that nice progress in the early stages already. Sulkin goes for the fastest lap as they lead the way. On lap 1, that's Niffer who goes off. It's Pursoon who goes through. Are we going to see Charlie go for a move though? That's what I'm trying to find out, but we just don't have the answer at the moment. Further behind, everybody's pretty close together, but not in a position to quite make an overtake just yet. We are going to keep an eye on that battle for the top 2. That's what we're looking for. Will we see Charlie get that grip and have the ability to get the drive out the corner and make that move, or are they just going to be a little bit stuck? We might see PJ try and fight it out as they go defensive on the inside. We've got Edvir, who actually, no, it was an overtaking manoeuvre here from PJ. It's a defensive moment just from Tom behind. It's going to be I thought that was Sulkin switching positions. I think I might have got a little bit confused. It's Nifo actually switching with Jericho Willis, I believe. It's the inside line now for Verf as they switch again. And there is the Sauber through once more. And Jericho Willis is going to take that position as well and gain an extra one. And it's just not simple at all in these conditions. Super tough to deal with. Sulkin has picked it up and Charlie is not able to do anything about it. We're only on lap 2 and that intermediate tyre has found its groove already, no pun intended. Absolutely perfect stuff. And we've got Zingy, who's going to be ready to pounce on that wet tyre that will eventually get slower and slower and slower. A masterful drive a few seasons ago from Zingy saw them almost puncture their tyres as they drove to the end on the wet in the wet conditions to the victory. Not sure if that was in a Williams or not. I think it might have been in a Racing Bull. Moving around a little bit on the exit curb. That's a switch with Edvir and Tom as there's a good old battle going on back there. We have a quick look to see what is happening. Drifting on the exit of corners. That's what everyone's doing at the moment. We have got also Jericho Willis and Ver very close together. But I think our focus does need to dart back to two Williams drivers who are ever so close. They don't want to tangle each other up because that would be catastrophic for their race, but I'm not entirely sure. That is interesting. Very, very close stuff as Edvir is doing their best. Oh, that's going to be very tight, and there's not exactly enough space there left for Gilly, so they had to go off the circuit. I'm sure Gilly's not going to be happy with that one, but we've got no front wing damage. At least I didn't think they do. I think they've just got no wings in downforce regards. So it's a tricky one for Gilly. Maybe the wrong setup call in the end. Dingy looking to try and get different lines, better lines through the chicane to see if they have the grip, and it looked like they did have it mid-cornered on the exit. Charlie had enough. Dirtier in the fast corners. It's going to be Pro Charlie. And Sulkin even more so. I say that, we're looking at Charlie. I think he's made that move already. I didn't even realise. I looked at the tyres and went, hang on a minute. How have they switched? They haven't. It's on track they've switched, and Charlie, well, their tyres are dropping off, and we're expecting to see Frantic catch up in a matter of laps as the dry line will form. Now, the benefit that Charlie has here is that they've had a decent start, and they've managed to avoid any kind of issues. They're going to then pit onto a set of intermediate tyres, and they might be lucky that we don't end up on the dry tyres. That means that they get a severe undercut and they can overtake lots of people. There is also a chance that we do, and a big chance that we do get dry conditions later on, and they've now got to make a very different pit stop. And that's Nifo, who's dropped behind PJ now, really not enjoying these wet conditions. It will dry up, especially it will get better for the intermediate tyre as we continue, but it is going to take some time. You can see them drifting through the lap, getting a bit of sideways action. Lap 4 out of 26. And the gap has split up. It feels like a lifetime to complete a lap. It is also feeling a bit like a lifetime possibly for Sulkin, who's got Zingy directly behind for, I'd say, company, but it's not exactly wanted company. Nothing against Zingy at all, but you just don't want a car right up your rear end hunting you down. That's exactly what they've got, and Zingy doesn't mind being in this situation. They'd rather be in P1, but they're more than happy to put the pressure on. They are a master at it, and they know that they can stay composed and relaxed, as they've got plenty of laps in this race to go, to burn, to make a decision, to make the call, to make the better play, and outsmart their rival on track. Sulkin, championship leader for a reason. Currently the driver in form, and you've got to try and get past them. That's never going to be an easy task, is it? Very different lines, different throttle. Very late on the throttle for Zingy, but it looked more tentative than late because Sulkin was still able to nail it after going pretty late or deep into the corner. You can just see them explore the different lines out on track. Dirty air versus no dirty air. Slightly more inside, avoiding the curves. It's not exactly much in it, is there? Frantic goes fastest though, and they have really picked up the pace. Welcome aboard Frantic. They're finding it quite enjoyable, I'm assuming, and Zingy might have to get a move on, or be a bit more forceful if they want to overtake Sulkin in front. Charlie still needs to be overtaken by Frantic, so that's the benefit that Sulkin and Zingy have. But if Frantic's tyres, or sorry, pace is genuine, then there may be a bit of a worry here. An interesting line. I don't know if it's exactly slow, I think it might be quick, but it's still a risk going off that far of the circuit. Very far in front of Pursuit, the race winner. And we said it earlier on, the knowledge really comes in driving the race driving the game consistently. The outright pace is there just for a short while. The sprint race was their time to shine. Now they've got to try and figure everything out. Really on a back step, it's so tough to deal with. Directly behind, we've got the good old duo Verp and Jericho Willis staying with each other, and that was Jericho Willis almost looking at making the move as they just faked their old rival to the inside line. Sulkin goes and puts the fastest lap in. Zingy doesn't match it, and this time Frantic isn't able to either. But of course, if you look at the gaps in lap time, I'm sure you'll be able to see not much in it as the fastest lap, especially between the top two. So effectively P1 and P2 are very close, although Zingy's made a mistake and has just started losing some time. So they're going to have to try and figure that one out again. First stays comfortably ahead. You see Edvard going to the pit lane. They've got Nifo a few positions back now to P10. They have Tom in front. And are staying with them. But still, we've got these intermediate conditions at this stage of the race, and it will definitely be intermediates. We've only got one wet tyre out on track, and they're now 4 seconds away from the race leaders. And Frantic is making their move on this lap. I say that, they're going to have to do it on the brakes. They're not going to be able to do it on the power and the straight line speed. They have to do it on the brakes here. Frantic got a bit too close through Stowe, and they've had to back out. So it's going to have to be the first chicane. You can see the dry line forming, and that's where the intermediate compound will thrive. But they need a clear shot, they need a clear run, and they need the momentum to do something about it as well. That's the problem. They don't have the momentum, they might not as bother. Oh, that's so close. Could they send it on the brakes? They don't feel that they can. So close through the mid corner. They go for the dive on the inside line. That's the absolutely brilliant move. And they're going to have it on the traction for sure. Even though they've got the inside line, it's the intermediate. They're going to do it. Absolutely perfect. A little bit of defending, and it's actually going to be Charlie back to the inside. They'll have to brake so late and bleed off the brakes they'll cause a collision, surely. No, they are coming through. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Charlie looking at the switchback, but they're blocked by Pursoon, and it is a move done by Frantic, assisted by the Haas, and Charlie has been overtaken. Wow, absolutely incredible. A crazy, crazy overtake attempt, and then a brilliant defence. Oh, that is Pursoon, who was a bit ambitious there with the throttle and the dirty air. Excited with the battle that's going on in front. They're going to have to try and recoup and go for maybe a creative move as well. Charlie looking quick in a straight line. That's pretty impressive. You see the F1.5 champ gaining a lot in the corners. As you'll see, that might just be tyre grip. And that's Zingy going for a fastest lap. They continue to follow along with Sulkin's pace. The top two in the championship. I think it's the top two in the championship at least. Maybe not after the sprint race. And there it is. This is the time for Pursoon to shine. It's going to be a corner earlier than what we saw Frantic, and it's not going to be a switchback for Charlie. They had a look, but just wasn't going to be enough. And that is a lovely move there for Pursoon. I think they almost make contact going into turn 3, but they do get away with it. Diving to the left-hand side to get some cool water on the tyres, to cool those tyres down, as the dry line can get pretty difficult. And also I think it's good to probably cool those tyres down now whilst you can, before it gets too late, because otherwise you're just going to have a very tough time. You can see, look at that. Charlie's not bothering. I think they know that they're going to come into the pit lane at some point soon. So maybe they're not bothering because of that reason. Or Charlie just isn't bothered about this tyre regardless, and they're still going to stay out as long as the intermediate tyre. That will be a risky call. Now there's some insider knowledge that if you're a league racer you'll know. If you're not, you might not. You've got to wait for the perfect time to go onto the slick tyre, onto the dry, which Charlie isn't going to do. But even if it looks dry in the F1 game, it might not be dry. You've got to wait for that DRS call from the game. And only then will it be optimal. And that's what we're going to see. We'll see some people try and be creative, and it can sometimes work, but it's such a risk. We'll see plenty of people waiting. Oh, and that is a big risk as Zingy goes off the circuit, takes a journey onto the grass. They stay nice and close behind, but they've still got to get that moment out of their head and not think about what's just happened. Only think forward, and forward it's Sulkin, a Red Bull car in front. It's another 3 second there for Nifo, unfortunately. It's our second time penalty of the evening as we look at what we've got from everyone. It's 6 seconds for Nifo, it's Tom with 3. Charlie out on track, 4.8 seconds on a second set of intermediates. Is that going to be the call, or is it not going to matter? Are we going to need a 2-stop anyway on wet tyres and then go to maybe dries towards the end of the race, if that even becomes a thing? Zing and Sulkin duel it out, and we see Pursoon and Frantic join each other once again. This time the other way around. It's Verf and Jericho Willis joined by PJ, who now have a triple showdown out on track before the pit stops come around. Charlie on that fresh intermediate tyre. We'll get to see a close comparison in a little while when they catch up to Nifo, and that's a third time penalty, fourth time penalty of the evening, as Edbeard now has a 3 second, and so does Pursuit. So has dropped a little bit from Frantic in the meantime. Zingy and Vulcan incredibly close to each other on track. Not in a position to overtake in conditions like these, but the closest we've seen them for a while. You can see this line of cars here in the top, in as a 3. Moving to the left hand side of the circuit, there's a bit of cold water out on track that you can cool your tyres down, but you don't have to move away from the racing line by the time you get to the braking point, which is perfect. Off to this part of the circuit though, you do have to move to the inside if you want to cool those tyres. PJ doesn't bother too much, and Verf and Jericho Willis are concerned. Thingy continues to put the pressure on. Charlie is going fast though. We do want to try and see the comparison between Inters. That is a very, very close Williams to the back of the Red Bull, and they are putting that pressure on. They really are trying to do something about it now. You can see the battery being used. And you don't do that by accident. We're ready to switch, just in case something happens on the start-finish straight, or the back straight I should say, the hanger straight. Through the Wellington straight, it's Nifo struggling for grip. It's Charlie who looks to dive to the inside. That's a risky place to do it, but they are going to give it a shot. Sulkin stays ahead, and you have the battery power to charge ahead further down the straight. On the exit of Copse Corner, Charlie's going to have the pace, they have the advantage, they have the momentum, and they will get that move done. Looking at the grip on that fresh tyre, it is just so much confidence that you get. You haven't had any extra tyre wear from slipping around at the start with the overly wet conditions for the compound. It's very quickly get to intermediate conditions, but now you can really see the optimal intermediate condition level, and the tyres are much quicker. Another time penalty. These conditions are not easy to deal with. Tom almost losing that car. Charlie goes for another fastest lap, as this undercut is going to be absolutely immense for their race. But are they clearing these cars quick enough? I think just the fact that the tyre advantage is so severe is probably going to be more than enough. Oh, it's still not easy though. It's not easy. Charlie going all over the place on the track limits. They've got to keep it cool, otherwise they'll find themselves in a disadvantaged position which they don't need to put themselves in. They're also going to do the same thing, go to the inside line, and they will make it work this time on Tom. And they've made that move. They've now got 12.6 seconds to the cars in front. And they've got a bit of clean air driving to do with no one around them. We will see, once again, a very strong first sector for Zingy, a very strong final sector for Sulkin. That's what we're looking at here, and we're probably going to look at that for the rest of this race. Setup differences will be a thing. Here we go, turn one, turn two, and that's as close as it gets. Almost the front wing lost. It's going to be tight at the apex, and Zingy is not going to be happy with that one. But they're going to remember it, that's for sure. And they'll be looking to make a bit more of a forceful and clear-cut move, I'm sure, in a few corners' time. In a matter of moments, I should say. They look to the inside. They're going to dive it on the brakes. They don't quite get there, but still space is left. Now they're going to look at the switchback or the long way round. The long way round is the call. Sulkin's not going to have any of that, and they stay in front. Continuing to push the battery is Zingy. They were thinking about a look to the inside at Copse Corner. They did just about back out of it. It's not a good idea, is it? That 14 out of 26, you've still got a long way to go in this race. Still got pit stops to be done. Charlie makes some progress on PJ, who's dropped back from Jericho Willis and Verth. They stay together. However, Frantic comfortably in a podium position at this stage as well, with a time penalty and a bit more of a gap between themselves and Pursoon, who they were fighting in the sprint race. And then we get to the top two. Zingy's used their battery on that last major attack. So they're going to have to try and recoup and gain something again. Turn one is absolutely mega for Zingy. They know what they're doing in that first corner. But they have to make sure that they've got the battery power and the rest of the lap hooked up to give themselves another chance. They're trying to stay with Sulkin for the rest of the lap, and what on earth just happened there? There was a big issue surely on Sulkin's side, or they just weren't ready for a send like that. Zingy just found maximum confidence and made the move. ERS is being used by Sulkin, but they're going for the outside overtake at Copse Corner. That's not going to work. Zingy's always going to take that racing line at a corner like that. And there you go. Now Sulkin has got half a battery left to get back past. It's P1 for Zingy for the first time in this race. ERS is being used, but is that Red Bull quick in a straight line? It looks very quick, especially at the top end, but they don't get close enough to make that move. And I'll tell you what, Zingy is the master at defending around Silverstone. It's the inside, or sorry, outside line into the pit lane they go for. Earlier call relative to the rest of the field, but probably a reactive moment for many around them. Zingy's going to have to react. Well, they don't have to. It's a wet weather scenario where strategy is wide open. And no one quite knows what's going on. But we still don't see any pit stops. We're not going to see one from Charlie. And that's all Sulkin's going to be concerned about. Charlie behind, and everybody else that is going to be in front has overtaken. There's Charlie with another fastest lap, but look at that. That is still a massive gap that Sulkin has managed to get on the Polish driver. 6.2 seconds. Unless there's been an issue, Charlie has outright lost 2 seconds. You would have assumed that they would have gained at least 2 seconds, and that gap would have been 2 seconds itself. From the 4 seconds it was when they made that pit stop. But I think that maybe Zingy and Sulkin were pushing each other so much that they were able to gain, and you can see Zingy is going faster and faster every lap. They're on 0% battery almost at that point. But they are going into the pit lane. That's why they're running it so close to the wire on the battery. They'll save a lot when they're in the pit lane. They make sure that they don't get a time penalty. It's very easy to speed in the pit lane here at Silverstone. It is a long pit lane as well, about 30 seconds. Frantic and Pursoon follow along. Verf, Jericho, Willis are looking to do the same thing. It's Verf who stays out, so something might have a headache here. They're going to have to make an overtake, surely. Zingy, there they go. P1, will they hold it? It's going to be Verf momentarily into the first corner. And they're still going to take it. It's going to be Sulkin who jumps ahead. They will get the undercut, but it's still an overtake has to be made by Sulkin to get to that P1. Surely you don't sit behind on a fresh tyre relative to a 16-lap-old intermediate tyre. Lots of switching. Nifo gets back up the order as they don't make their pit stop at this stage. They continue to stay out. Charlie's undercut looks a bit better now as you see Zingy pit 1 lap later, but still a loss of time. Sulkin 1.2 seconds away. And very confident in their strategy, as the result shows. And they should be able to take this tyre to the end unless we get a dry compound. I think the drivers would have tried to take it as long as they possibly could just in case, knowing that they'll probably have to pit anyway, but trying to chance it for no pit stop. They've decided now to all go in. You can see the circuit has got a bit lighter, but the rain is still falling. And still not making an overtake until the last moment, but this is where it will be a struggle. Sulkin almost going into the back of Verf. The pace advantage is there, and they're being slowed down. They've got to make the move quickly, otherwise their pit window was just pointless, and they may as well have pitted a lap later. And that's not how it's done. That is not how it's done. A big barge from Sulkin, who just completely smacked into the side of Verf, and they're very, very lucky to get away with that one. I would be surprised if Verf doesn't have some actual damage. Visually it looks okay, but that surely looks like actual damage there. That was a big hit, especially in the rain. Sulkin got to focus. Otherwise that moment there is going to affect them for the rest of the race. Verf continues to cool their tyres down. Zingy's got to try and make the move. Whoa! Whoa! That is as smooth as it gets. We've just seen the ultimate contrast in overtakes. I don't know if Zingy's overtake was even intentional. They found the opportunity at the last second, they took it, and there was no looking back. The move's been made, the time's been gained. That is just incredible. And a fastest lap to add to it. They're going to be so smug. They're going to be so smug. Absolutely incredible. We've got Frantic and Charlie out on track close together. Frantic, no time penalty, and also pressure tyres. This is a very, very strong Dutchman. And it's not going to be an easy task to keep them behind. In fact, it might just be impossible as they look to the outside line. They go for the first attack. It is a defensive throw from Charlie. There's not a switchback available from the Alpine. Would they get the traction down? Well, it would be a very difficult one to get the move done in that scenario. They definitely show confidence. Looking left, right. Just trying to put that pressure on. You can see the understeer that's now kicking in from Charlie. And their tyres, although still quick, aren't going to be super easy to deal with. And he isn't able to make that move. Verf stays out. We might catch the Verf with this battle here of Charlie and Frantic. I'm not entirely sure, and that is an overtake attempt into the chicane. That's going to be very, very, very tricky. It's side by side through the right-hander all the way to the line. Zingy goes off the circuit, and they're going to have to let that position go. There's no way that they can overtake that after they've left the circuit. And Sulkin will just about hold on to it. We just missed the entry into that chicane. But it looked like it was high-octane stuff between the two. And my mistake for taking my eye off of them. We still have a very close battle as Frantic looks to try and do something about it. About the other Williams. We've got Niffo into the pit lane after a while. Will we see Frantic go again? They do put the battery on, but it's just not enough. That is a very quick Williams in a straight line. A very quick Williams indeed. Frantic's got to get there on the traction. They might just have it using the battery, but the top end speed will kick in and Charlie will get there once more. There's just nothing that they can do. On the Exeter Cops though, that might be a call. To the left hand side, they back out. They don't go for it. It would have been a hell of an effort. Will we see Zingy be able to go for another overtake? They do catch up. Will they have the advantage into the chicane? Would they try and dive it on the brakes? They are going to go for it. They bleed once again. Oh, there's going to be contact, and that is going to be super, super tight through the rest of the lap. Through the final corner, it's going to be Zingy ahead this time as they switch. Oh, wow. Absolutely incredible. They kept Sulkin tight to the inside, preventing the Red Bull from opening the steering, but it's once again a move to the inside for Sulkin, and I think they might just have that one. That is a brilliant effort. Zingy's going to go late on the brakes to push that Red Bull wide as they dare, and they do get that move. The switchback though is called upon once again here for the Red Bull as they go to the left hand side. They have the inside line again. Going late into the corner, that's going to be the call to action. That's going to be what makes them the move. And that is Sulkin just about staying in front. Lovely stuff between the two. It takes two to tango. It's not easy. And there it is. Tangoing indeed is Frantic, who gets there on Charlie. Third time of asking in the same corner. They have got the job done. They've also got Verf for company in this battle as well. But look at the tyre difference. This is going to be something. Wow. The amount they've just gained through that corner. I don't know if Verf's just backed off there or if that is just the outright pace. As Charlie will also catch up massively. And they'll look to make the move fairly safely. There's no point in risking this difference in pace level. You don't bother looking at the top two because I think this time Zingy is a little bit too far away. They've used a lot of resource to get that move and it's not quite worked, so they've got to go back to the drawing board. Verf's doing it. They're trying. You can see the dry conditions are visible, but we still don't have to call for the DRS. But Pursoon's gone for it. They've jumped the gun. Is this the right call? It's a 3-second time penalty for Niffo. That's a 10-second time penalty for PJ, who's also gone for it. Soft tyres, but no call for DRS to be enabled. And it's a switch again. It's Zingy and Sulkin who are trying to battle it out with these tyres once more. It's Zingy who gets there on the traction. They just had the advantage. I don't know what was going on. We just missed it, but ERS is going to be there again. Will Sulkin get a dose of DRS? If they're lucky, through Magnus and Beckett's? No, they're just going to miss out. No DRS will be available. It's going to be pure straight line speed setup availability. Who's going to have it? This is the best comparison we will get. Sulkin has battery. Did Zingy use all of it trying to get that move done? They're using it, they're using it, they're using it, but Zingy is still far enough ahead and very strong in a straight line. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Zingy is P1. No pit stops just yet. No call for dry conditions from the race director, but lots of drivers putting on the dry tyre. Let's have a look with Bassoon in P6 at the moment. And that tyre is looking quick, to be honest. That is still quite a fast, slick compound. I think it might have to be the pit lane for a few drivers regardless. Very good stuff indeed, very impressive. That's a switch, that's Verf. Oh no! Verf's had it again! I don't believe it! Another puncture this season! They've just taken it a bit too far. In hindsight, they should have pitted a lap earlier, but they were not to have known. I do not believe it. Oh, what a shame. Verf's going to have to crawl back to the pit lane once again and drop outside of the points. Well outside of the points. What a shame. They try and... that's going to be, yeah, impossible to hold on to. They tried to cut a few corners to keep the car in a straight line. I think that's fair enough, but it unfortunately didn't make a difference. We see a few intermediate tyre runners still stay out, as that is a devastating sight of Verf in the background, who gets overtaken by their teammate. It's Zingy staying out right now. Are they going to go into the pit lane? Oh, they both decide to stay out. That's crucial stuff. I think if Sulkin pitted, Zingy would have tried to have taken it to the end of the Grand Prix on the intermediate. They can't afford to pit, neither of them. They have to pit at the same time. And no one's going to want to do it. We currently have a battle between the top two, and they're not going to make a pit stop in the dry conditions. Are we going to even see DRS kick in? I don't know. Jericho Willis goes for a fastest lap as they're staying out on this intermediate tyre. The tyres are going to be warm. They're going to get too hot in the final lap. But just staying out is going to give them that advantage. We've had a few drivers there who've made those pit stops and maybe lost out. The pace is there. The fastest lap has been put in by the soft compound. We've got Pursoon with pressure from Charlie. We've got lots of time penalties going out right now. A lot. 3 seconds for Manny, 9 for Niffo, 10 for PJ and 16 for Tom. But it's all about tyres that we're bothered about. And with the front runners, Zingy, Sulkin and Jericho Willis not making that pit stop just means it's perfect for their race. And they can probably take that 15-second gap in 2 laps to the end of this race. That's a yellow, unfortunately, as we see Edveer have an issue. Is that also a puncture? I'm not entirely sure. I can't quite get a view for some reason. I think they're just retiring the car. No, that is definitely a puncture, isn't it? That is definitely a puncture. And now, P1. Oh! Hang on a minute! How has this happened? Sulkin's gone into the pit lane. Sulkin's gone into the pit lane and they're being overtaken by Jericho Willis. unless I'm missing something, I'm not entirely sure why Sulkin has just gone into the pit lane. Jericho Willis has got a lap to try and stay ahead, and they've got 8 seconds advantage on the Red Bull car. They've just been given P2 in my eyes. They've got 1.5 laps to get that done, and I have a very good feeling that they're going to be able to do so. Sulkin might be able to put in a performance of a lifetime and gain 7 seconds in 1 lap, but no, surely that doesn't happen. It's just not possible. Frantic in P4, so close to the podium, but it's not going to be enough. I just don't see it changing. Pursuit has got that pace now in the dry conditions. Charlie sitting right behind these guys, I think both on a 3-second time penalty, so it is outright on track here for these two. They've got to try and make the move on the circuit to get something done. This is the closest battle. It's Charlie who has the experience in recent times to get this kind of move done. The tricky conditions take us from lap 1 all the way to the final lap. 6 seconds now. Jericho Willis has got a margin to take them to the end of the race. Bassoon goes defensive. Charlie just wasn't able to get there. Looking to the inside, there's a defensive throw from Bassoon, but a little bit too defensive, and a switchback of dreams is complete. Charlie goes through, and Bassoon just watches on as their position flies away. 2 points dropped. There's nothing that they can do. Is there a more severe issue here? I don't know. There it is. The DRS is enabled now all of a sudden. Sulkin is gaining masses of lap time, and it is 1,000,000% dry conditions at this stage. I think Bassoon's tyres might be a little bit cold after they've gone for too early of a pit stop. We've got Jericho Willis out on the 9-lap-old intermediate compound tyre, and they might actually get DRS from the lap car of Verf, I believe that must be, as they then make that move. Oh no, that's a spin, unfortunately. It's actually Yellowek there, but it's going to be Zingy crossing the line to win the Great British Grand Prix after an incredible race that they've had. I don't know what to say, but wow, a move through Magnus and Beckett's that will stay with them forever, and with LSI. But Jericho Willis keeps their cool, and it was so close from Sulkin in the end, but 1.4 seconds is enough for Jericho Willis to have P2. Sulkin P3, Frantic P4. We've got Bassoon and Charlie, as Bassoon made the move and stayed in front. What happened to Charlie in the end? I don't quite know. Charlie dropped down, had an issue, and there it is, Bassoon to P5. PJ will make it to the end of the race after technical difficulties plagued them in the sprint, and they still have technical difficulties now, but they've completed a whole race distance, and they will finish P7. Gilly P8, Nifo P9, and finishing the top 10, it will be Tom to take one final point. Just what a race. That was not easy for anyone. Very complicated throughout. But some extra points there gained for Zingy on their rival. More than they were expecting, I'm sure. Until the last moment where they saw their rival make that pit stop. It was no dry tyre for Zingy, but it was enough to get them to the end of the Grand Prix and take that top spot. It's Zingy in P1, it's Jericho Willis in P2, it's Sulkin with the fastest lap in P3. We've got Frantic, Bassoon, Charlie, Gilly, PJ Nifo, Tom Robb, Yellowek, Verf, and then DNFing at the last moment was Edvir, and they will still be classed as finished, although no points will be given. The race director's on your screen just in case. And then we will go through the pit stop section as well. And one more quick look at the incident section before we do then dive over to the results for one final look. And we'll be back for the post-race interviews. We'll see you in a bit. Hello everyone and welcome to the post-race interviews of the Great British Grand Prix. That was one hell of a race. It was very tricky with the wet conditions, wasn't it, Tom? It was so difficult to deal with. Didn't really know what was going to happen. Were you trying to go to the end or all the way on a wet tyre?
No. Like my plan was in the end to do or like to pit on the slick tire when everybody else did. My problem was I realized too late that Gilly was in the Ferrari right ahead of me, and he decided to pit. And so my choices were either I stay out for at least one more lap, or follow him and wait in the pit lane. And that just threw me completely off. And afterwards, I couldn't keep focus on anything. But like the whole race was frustrating for me. First getting killed in the sprint race in lap one, then just driving behind, doing silly mistake in the qualifying, losing out 2-3 positions, and then still getting killed on the start finish line on the first lap, like right out of the gates. Yeah, in the first laps it felt a bit of fun at least, because I was able to catch some guys. Then it was just sticking in your position. Yeah, second stint felt a bit better for me. I was catching up at least to Peter, which I didn't previously. And then the end, it was just frustrating completely. And when I was on the slick tires, the game was so weird. Like, you had grip, but then suddenly no grip, and it was just so hard to handle on controller. Like, realistically, P7 would have been possible for me, but not with my state of mind in the end.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and it's also very difficult to go from a wet condition race to a dry, because your mind kind of gets into the habit of driving in wet conditions. So yeah, it's not easy at all. But thank you very much for giving it a good shot, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Tom. And we move on to Jericho Willis. Jericho, how about that? That is a lovely little P2 at the end. Can you take us through your race and what your thoughts were in the last moments with the strategy?
Yeah, I was very disappointed in qualifying. I ran out of fuel just before crossing the line. And I think, I don't know, you can probably tell better from your side, but I think from my side, it was looking like I would have qualified third if I would have had a 10th more fuel, which I kind of knew I needed to take a little bit of risk, but I just messed it up a little bit. I knew I had to be a little bit lighter than the faster guys to kind of get myself in the mix. So I tried it, and it almost worked, but it was my own fault. But so that put me in a really bad spot in the race. I was stuck behind Verth forever, and just had a lot more pace, but he was running something closer to a dry setup, so he was really quick in the straight line, and I just couldn't get around him. And I did drop the car a couple of times, huge slides, and somehow stayed in the race. I have no idea how. I'll have to watch it back. No idea how I stayed in the race, but just kind of stuck behind him with about 15 laps to go, 16 laps to go. I selected the hard tires because I thought that was coming. About 3 laps later, I selected the medium tires because I thought that was coming. And then with about 10 laps to go, I checked the weather, and they said the switchover was coming soon. And I was like, yeah, no, go to another set of inters, and that's going to be the fastest way, because I've done that switch over to the slick too early before, and it's just a nightmare. And so I figured this is my best shot to undercut Verth, get in now. I know I'll probably be a couple seconds faster than him on the outlap, and then that should be it. And I'm not sure what he did, but from there, I just had really good tires to the end, and tires that could easily last in the drying conditions. I think I ended the race with like maybe about 60% on the rear left, something in that vicinity, which was pretty good. And so, yeah, I was very happy with that. Just saw the positions climbing as everybody had to react to what was going on. And considering my qualifying and the first half of the race, I'm thrilled to get back up to second place and finish there. That was more than I could have hoped for at the beginning of the race, that's for sure.
Yeah, perfect stuff. Absolutely awesome. I'm not going to say too much more, to be honest. It was brilliant. Thank you very much for today. We enjoyed watching you very, very much, and congratulations on the great result.
Thank you.
And we move on to Frantic. Some brilliant pace today. I will say that for sure. Are you disappointed that you weren't able to get the podium today?
No, I'm very happy. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed that one. Normally, I'm not a big fan of Silverstone, let alone in the rain, but I had Pursuit by my side, which made it so much more fun. Love that guy. He told me I could give a short recap of his race. So, well, here goes nothing. The sprint, we both qualified on the front row, which was pretty cool, pretty fantastic, pretty excellent. It takes me back to Monza from a few years ago. I think I got pushed off by some guy called Mizzy. I don't know if you know that guy. People start to doubt us, as a team, based on that result alone. But we proved ourselves today. When people begin to sleep on us, we tuck them in. That's how we do it. But yeah, the main race was tough. But again, with Pursuit, I feel unbeatable. I don't know. He just makes me feel some certain way. I don't know what it is, but I had a super fun battle with Charlie as well. So it was cool. He's very clean with it, so I knew it was going to be fun. Pursuit had few issues very early on, so that's a shame for him. Also very unlucky with the time penalty at Cops, I believe it was. But still, he managed to get a good result, so hoo-ha. For me, not the right strategy call at the end, like you said. But I mean, I can't be mad because like still it's super fun and I learned a lot from this. And also I should have known Jericho would think of something clever at the end, but oh well.
Yeah.
Hoo-ha.
Well, it was a very good race to watch, and we're super happy to see you getting those good results. So well done today on the good points. Well done on the 1-2 as well in the sprint race, and thank you thank you very much.
Yep, appreciate it.
And we move on to Gilly. Gilly, wet conditions. It's tough to know what to do, right? It's what wings did you go for in the end?
I think I went for like 16.8 from memory.
Okay.
I upped it a bit from with the rear, especially because I was struggling on the rear. But I got so lucky. I was on 90% wear on my inters when I pitted.
Wow. That's pretty severe.
I'm sorry to Tom, but I could not do another lap. So I got very lucky in that. And the wet weather was so weird, as you said, because it was fine in some bits, and then like the final corner was really slippery. So I think Tom went off and PJ went off on that same corner, and then I went off. So it was quite weird, but it was cool that it was changeable.
Yeah, it was. It's tough to deal with, especially if you haven't driven the game too much. But I respect the effort. You've done a lot better than I would have done. So, thank you very much for giving it a good effort. It's good to see you once again this season. Hopefully, we can see you a few more times. Thank you very much, Gilly. Well done today. And we move on to Nifo. Nifo, how was it? Was it the setup? It just didn't seem to be any grip for you today.
It's just my skill, mate. Just horrible.
I don't know. The outright pace was there in qualifying. What was going on in the wet conditions?
Must have been a lucky lap because it's just unbelievable. I tried everything. Had nothing. I was 5 seconds off basically every lap. So yeah, I honestly could have retired. I should have retired to just regain at least have my honor. But I wanted at least to get a point from the time I put in, so I just kept driving. But yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, it looked pretty difficult out there. You still got the 2 points in the end, so you can take that away. I appreciate you giving it a good shot, and yeah, the pace is there. It's just something on with the wet conditions. I don't know if it's full wet or if it's intermediates or both, but thank you very much for giving it a shot, and we'll see you next time in Australia. And we move on to PJ. PJ, now we have to ask, how were the technical difficulties? Was it okay in the end?
Yeah, I mean, it was very spontaneous at the race today, and then I did the update for the game, and suddenly I had this audio glitch that every time I tap into the game, I have like the sound of a toaster. It was horrible. Couldn't deal with it, so I was trying to solve this during the sprint race. And then I switched to aux cable to my headset, but the cable was so short that it was always between my hands and between the steering wheel. So if I turn 180 degrees, I always had the cable between my hands. So that was really annoying as well, but somehow worked. But the sound was after that okay, but still the whole sound settings of my PC were different. So I think there was also a delay, so every time I get on the brakes or shift up or down, I had like a small delay, which where I'm not used to. So now I have a really big headache because I think the game was also too loud. So, and I couldn't switch it during the race because the button on my headset is broken. So everything is falling apart. but I was just extremely surprised about my pace in the race on the wet. And I was able to hold on with Verve and Jericho Willis a long time.
Yeah.
And had unfortunately a small incident with Gilly after my first pit stop, where he broke way earlier than I expected, so I had my front wing broken. But all in all, yeah, a bit unlucky with the incident, and also with 5 kph too fast in the pit lane and getting there a penalty. But surprised that I finished the race without a huge spin or crash or anything. And even I think I was P8 at the end, so it was great.
Yeah, it was good to see for sure. And I'm just trying to think of which races we've had so far this season. I don't know if it was maybe Spain. I think we saw you race for the first time, and you were facing the wrong way. But this time you're in the wet conditions and you were pretty competitive. So it's great to see the improvement. Thank you very much for doing what you've done today. I don't think people realise the technical difficulties that you've had. So it's big respect for that. So thank you very much, AJ. Really well done today, and hopefully we can see you again soon.
Surely.
And we move on to Sulkin. Sulkin, what a battle. That did not look easy at all. You took it all the way to the end. I think you got pole position, right? I think you got pole position. You did get pole position. A lovely fastest lap. What were you thinking with the pit stop at the end there? Were you thinking, I need to pit and I'll be able to get Jericho again? Or were you thinking, I think Zingy's going to pit and Jericho's going to pit? Or what was going on?
I thought first that Zingy was going to pit, but I didn't realize how many laps there were left, since my the lap counter thing was gone for me, so I didn't see it. So I didn't know what lap we were doing, so the only thing I had to count the lap was the clean laps. So after a pit stop I didn't have that, so my counter went away at 16 and I didn't know how many laps were left. But yeah, at the end, the pit stop with the soft was, I was thinking about using the inters to the end, but I was 80% at lap 24, so if I would have gone maybe 1 or 2 more laps, I would probably have been spun into the wall or something. So yeah, I had to.
You had to. Fair enough. That's tough. That's very tough to take. I don't really know what to say, to be honest. You had a brilliant race and it was just taken away at the last moment. But do you think there's another world where you could have beaten Jericho to it, or was he just a little bit too far ahead?
I think Jericho earned that. He had managed to, he pitted later than me, had a better strategy, and yeah, he deserved that P2. So I think that's it probably. Yeah.
Well, you're still the championship leader, and I'll let you get to your call. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time in Australia. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We move on to Yellowek. Yellowek, that was a tough race to drive for sure. Can you take us through how it went for you? Do you feel prepared for tomorrow?
Okay, I can. So in the sprint, I was quite. It was a good lap in quali, not very good but good. Sprint was very fine. I think I killed Tom, but I'm not sure. If I did, then I'm so sorry. But yes, at the end of sprint we had a nice battle with Zingy. I don't know, I think he had some damage because I heard that he's a goat here, and I managed to keep up with him, and we had nice drag race to the end. I was 1/10 behind, so I'm pretty happy. And in the race oh my god, that was bad from the start to the end. At the start I got not enough fuel, so I had to lift and coast for entire race just to make it through. I wanted to go one stop from Inters to Hard and to the end, but Mark, like a game engineer, he faked me. I asked him in lap 6, I think, about weather, and he said, "We expect 5 more minutes of rain." And I asked him 5 minutes later, "We expect 10 minutes of rain." So yes, my strategy was bad, but I didn't end up last. So I'm pretty happy. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't have that much corner cutting. I mean, on the slicks it was very tricky because on the enters of the corner it was very good. They felt very nice, and on the exits I was swimming on those tires. So I went how is it called? Those fast chicane in sector 2. I went straight once. That was funny. Yes, I think that's all.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very good learning point. It's one of those races that you don't get too often, but you've got a bit of everything in it. So I think you did a very good job to do that. And yeah, thank you very much for giving it a good shot as well. And good luck, all the best tomorrow. I hope it goes well. Yeah, well done to you. And we finish with Zingy. Zingy, congratulations! Another wet race in Silverstone is yours. Can you take us through it? Because that looked pretty intense all the way through. Did not look easy to overtake.
No, well, first of all, in the sprint race, my finger slipped,
Whoopsie.
and I forgot my setup. I was at second off the pace, and then that kind of was a dud. But it's unfortunate because I could have been leading the championship, but game's game. And then went into the race. You can't overtake. Honestly, that track's horrible. I actually watched the video last week about Silverstone, a league race there in the dry, and it was already bad enough. So in the wet, it was nigh on impossible. And when he made like one or two mistakes, I was able to finally capitalise on like lap 20, was it? I can't remember the exact lap, but he was defending like a god. Like, honestly, we got Fernando Alonso over here, but I got past him eventually, and then he had tire troubles, and obviously didn't know what lap it was due to his issues, and I just capitalised on that. And from there on, when he pitted, it was kind of relaxing towards the end actually. So it was very tough the whole way.
Pitting?
For dries?
Yeah.
No. The DRS enable thing didn't come up until lap 24, something like that, and I know that's the call to like switch over, so I didn't see a point if I knew they weren't faster, and I had an insider telling me that it was really slippery. So thanks to that guy,
Yeah.
I didn't pit.
Fair enough. Well, it played out very well, and congratulations. Another wet condition. I guess it's kind of interchangeable in the last time you won it in the weird wet conditions. You've done it again. Well done today. Thank you very much. And you've gained some good points in the championship. So hopefully it goes well for you in Australia. Thank you very much, Zingy. Well done.
Thank you, Glizzy.
And thank you very much, everybody, for watching. It's been a pleasure. We will see you tomorrow for the F1.5 EU Championship. We'll see you next weekend for the Australian Grand Prix. Enjoy the Formula One World Championship 2026 Australian Grand Prix this weekend. That's going to be absolutely insane. Have a good one. Bye-bye.